Hello everyone. Welcome to the purple classes of the Rus India IAS Academy. So Desh Badala, Padhai Badalo, and I welcome you once again to our GS3 lecture session for UPSC mains examination. As you all know that we have already covered few topics in our earlier classes, government budgeting, inclusive growth, then growth and development. So today we will be talking and we will be moving towards the agriculture field, and the first topic that we are going to study in this is major crops and cropping patterns in the various part of India. So along with this, we will be studying some other topics also we will be studying. And along with that, since it is going to be a very detailed lecture, so I will be very happy that if you can just sit for some hour, I think it is going to be more than an hour session, because I wanted to cover each and every aspect of this topic. That is why I used to prepare the slide very holistically. I don't want to teach you in a way where I am just touching on the point, but I wanted to go deeper into the points. Okay, so please sit down with me and let's enjoy the learning process. Okay, so as you all know that we have covered this part, we have already done inclusive growth, we have already done government budgeting. Now we are moving to this part where major cropping pattern in various part of India that we are going to cover today in this session. Okay. So first of all, we should know what is the meaning of cropping pattern. So there is a various confusion, like people don't know what is the meaning of cropping pattern, what is the meaning of cropping system. Okay, so whenever we say the word cropping pattern, we are checking out the pattern. What is the pattern of cropping? How the people do the cropping? Right now, they're not talking about what type of crops. Okay, it is a proportion of area under different crops at a given time in a unit area. Okay, so this cropping pattern has two important timelines. One is temporal, another one is spatial. Temporal means in a sequence, like in a monthly sequence or in a yearly sequence, like that. What type of crop was there during that sequence? Yearly, monthly, or whatever the timeline you wanted to take. Then, spatially, what is space and what land on what piece of land? So, spatially and temporally. Temporally means it is a time segment and it is a space segment. Okay, so these are the two things. Temporal refers to the yearly sequence. Temporal refers to the yearly sequence of growing different crops on a piece of land. Like if we gave if we have one crop, if we have one crop, right? So if it is grown every year, only one crop is being grown, like we have wheat or a rice. Okay, so we call that as a monocropping pattern. We call it as a monocropping pattern. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of spatial arrangement? So here we are talking about on the piece of land, what type of pattern is there? Okay. Like if we have this much of land and we divide this land into two parts. In this part, we are doing some other crops like this, and in this part, we have some other type of crop. Okay, you may have another land also, then you can have some other type of crops over here. Okay, so if two crops or more than two crops are grown on a land in an alternative row, it is called row intercropping. So that we call it as spatially. Especially how your crop is arranged, and in a year wise what type of crop it is. So temporal and spatial arrangement we are talking. Okay, then what is cropping system? Then what is cropping system? So whenever we talk of the cropping system is a broader term. Cropping pattern is a narrower term. Broader term is cropping system. Here we are talking about all the crops, what field, which farm, what type of water, what type of soil technology. So everything, what type of soil technology, seed, fertilizer, what all things we are utilizing, we are putting that under the cropping system. Okay. So based on this cropping system, we can have a simple cropping system and a complex cropping system. Okay. So in a simple cropping system, it is normally practiced by the farmer who are small and marginalized, who have very low source of income and they have a very low technological infusion. So they normally grow a regular crop and they use a certain category of fertilizer and just try to replace the soil. But whenever we talk of the complex cropping patterns, here multiple crops like cereal crops also, fruits, vegetable, tree, crop, grains, fodder, everything all grown on a farm during an year. That is a complex, like in a simple cropping we can also say that the big farmers are also there. Sorry, big farmers are also there because we are talking about only a single type of crop in the simple cropping pattern. When they're complex, we are talking about crop also, fruits also, vegetables also, and various other multiple things that are being utilized in this whole process. Okay, here the soil keeps on nourishing itself. The things get recycled again and again, and this is a whole complex web of system. So normally, the big farmers follow this complex cropping pattern because they have a resources, they have a material, they have a technology to do this kind of complex cropping system. But those farmers who are lacking in technology, those who are not having sufficient resources, they normally go for simple cropping pattern. Okay. So if we go by the definition cropping pattern and cropping system, I have given you a proper definition of these. What is the focus area? What are the example? Like if we go by the cropping pattern, it is spatially and time. Cropping system, temporal and spatial aspects are already included, right? Then normally planting of rice followed by wheat in a cropping pattern, we call it as a pattern that we are following. In the cropping system, rotation and to enhance the soil and all these things are being discussed in a proper way over there. Then the main purpose is the layout. In the cropping pattern, it is all about layout. But in the cropping system, it is all about optimizing production, using of resource properly, and how we can make them sustainable. So it is a broader concept. It is a narrow concept. Narrow concept. That is just what you wanted to understand over here. Now, what is the significance of cropping system? Like whenever we try to put many things into the cropping system, what exactly we are trying to achieve? What exactly we are trying to achieve? First thing that we are wanted to achieve is maximum yield from the same field. Maximum yield from the crop. Like we have to utilize the land in such a way that we have to utilize a crop or multiple crop in such a way that we can take the maximum amount of yield from that. We have to make sure that how properly nutrition we can utilize, how properly we can utilize the seasonal. Okay, so to get the maximum yield, so based on that we align our cropping system based on the type of resources, based on the type of atmosphere and everything. Proper utilization of resources, optimum utilization what we are having based on what rotation of the crop we need, what intercropping we need, how we can reduce the waste and how we can increase the productivity. Similarly, cropping system have to be devised in such a way that it maintains soil health. That means if you are keeping single crop all the time, single crop all the time, if you are utilizing only rice crop and you are growing rice for 10 years, 20 years, so slowly the health of the soil get degraded. There are certain nutritions which get degraded, right? So we wanted the soil to get replenished itself, or we can do it with the help of a fertilizer. So we can help in maintaining proper cropping system, helps in maintaining soil health. See, why I am discussing all these points, the main reason is that because every single word of the syllabus you should know the 200 to 250 word answer. every single word of the syllabus. You should know 200 to 250 word answer. That is why I am discussing each and every word so that you are content ready for the examination. This is the static portion, and current affair you will be supplementing with the current affairs, right? So with this foundation, the way that we are starting these lectures, the way I have covered the lectures, they are building your foundation. Once you are able to remember all these things, only you have to supplement it by current affairs. Most of the questions of the mains will be here and there only. They will be having a different wordings, but actually they are catering to the same thing. It is just like to confuse you during the examination, but actually they are asking you the same thing which they were asking earlier also. What exactly the question can come from the cropping pattern? Obviously it is related to yield, it can related to resource utilization, it has to be from soil health, regarding the pest and disease management. All these topics are there, nothing new they can ask, but they just try to rotate the question in such a way that you might be thinking that it requires some very out of the box answer. Yes, obviously you have to write out of the box answer, but utilizing these points. Until and unless you don't know these points properly, you will not be able to frame your answer properly. So you have to develop your answer writing skill first. What is the foundation that I'm taking with you? This is building your foundation. After, we will be helping you in connecting it with current affair, like how you can utilize these points along with current affair, along with current affair. Okay, so now let's start ahead with our. So now again, the cropping pattern prevent the pest and diseases, because if you are continuously utilizing the same crop, if you are growing same crop all the time, rice, wheat, so it is prone to pest attack, it is prone to disease management, sorry, disease attack. So it is suggested that every time you try to change the pattern, every time you try to change the cropping, so that the pest and the disease do not get a favorable environment. So because monoculture means you are growing same crop all the time, it leads to the building up of pests, it leads to the building of diseases. Or by rotating the crop, we disrupt this cycle of the pest. So it has been visible throughout the world that if you do crop rotation, they are very less prone to disease attack. Okay. Now weed control. Cropping system help in preventing the weed control the unnecessary plants that is there. Unnecessary plants are there. Okay. Because if you try to do the cropping system in such a way that, and you keep on rotating the crop, it suppress the weed growth, because earlier might be, so if you have a weed that is there in wheat, okay, and here the weed is growing, all of a sudden next year you put rice, but now this weed is not being attached to rice, so this help in weed control. Do not provide similar atmosphere all the time, so that is why you keep on changing, you do crop rotation, you do intercropping, so that unnecessary weed do not grow. Then risk management also, diversifying cropping system. It is not like that single crop, you diversify your crops, you grow pulses, you grow wheat, you grow cereal crops, you grow oil seeds, you grow plants, you grow fruits and vegetables, you can. So this is why the main reason is that if one crop fails, if a single crop fail, like if we are developing one thing, like we have this rice field, and along with that we have some vegetables, and again we have some oil seed. So if pest attack happen, so pest may attack rice, it may attack vegetable. So your certain degree of your input is still there, certain degree of your crop is still safe. Okay, So it provide buffer against financial loss. You may get financial loss in rice, but you are saved in vegetable and oil seed, like that. And cropping patterns should be based on environmental sustainable ways, so that it helps in promotion of biodiversity, proper utilization of natural resources. Because if we are not utilizing in a way, slowly the land will degrade, the water will get acidic in nature, the soil will degrade, and slowly your cropping pattern will be disastrous. Okay, so we have to make sure that less chemical inputs, so that it doesn't have a soil erosion. Habitat diversity, that means we have to grow natural things. Okay, so natural microorganisms should be there. So that is why we need to maintain environmental sustainability. Then economic viability, we have to devise a pattern in such a way that it remain economically viable, properly economic viable it can remain, so that it helps in preventing any kind of financial risk, and it helps in preventing any kind of pest attack or something like that. So we can be able to, like, the way if we are doing the cropping pattern in such a way that it will help in creating a market for our product. It will help in creating a market for our product, because people will be knowing that yes, this is coming from an organic field, this is coming from a less chemical input field, like that. Okay, so this is how you are going to devise it. Now, what are the issues with cropping pattern in India? Specific issues. What are the specific issues that are there? First of all, monoculture. Obviously, around 60 to 70% of our country agriculture land is based on monoculture. They are growing many rice and wheat, but they are not diversifying it. They are not diversifying it. So there is a nutrition depletion, and vulnerability also get increased because of the disease. Water scarcity, because India is heavily dependent on monsoon. India is heavily dependent on monsoon, and there are dearth need of canals, tube wells, and various other things. Still, two-thirds of the farmers depend on the monsoon rain, and because of the erratic rainfall patterns, the storages of the water are not proper. Everywhere water scarcity is there. So right now, PM Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sichai Yojana, they have loan for irrigation, and PM Kusum scheme. PM Kusum scheme. If you know PM Kusum Krishnati, it is related to providing the solar pump to the remote area, so that they can just put a solar pump and extract the groundwater. Then in our country, there is a issue of imbalanced crop selection. They do not select the crop selection which is based on their land area, like in the southern area, where there in the south India. In the south India, there is a lot of issue with the water, but still they are growing water intensive crop rice over there. They are growing rice over there, right? Dependency of the monsoon we have already discussed over there. Then lack of crop diversification, people are focusing on only single crop, and people are afraid of diversifying their crop because of the market fluctuation, because of any type of pest outbreak. So they just wanted to go with the crop which give them assured return, but they don't know that diversifying crop will provide their crop with more resilience and income stability. Because if pest attack happen, it will destroy the whole crop, but if you have any diversified crop, your one crop will be safe. Then in India, soil degradation is on the very high, because of the extensive farming practice and extensive use of chemical fertilizer and extensive tillage. Because of that, and there is no proper soil management that is there. So it affects the crop yield, because if you don't have a good quality soil, if you are not utilizing proper fertilizer, and if you are not utilizing in an optimum way, obviously it will lead to disaster. Then land fragmentation, it is because of the family issue. There was a father, he was having 100 acres of land. Then his two sons got divided into 50 acre, 50 acre. Then every son has four sons. So it get divided into further. So because of this, fragmentation of land has happened, and now the land are not economical. Now small land is not economical for agriculture. Infrastructure facilities are not up to mark, whether it is ready to storage, because a lot of time our grain gets rotten away, okay, eaten by the rats. Transportation network, last mile connectivity is not proper, and market access, proper roads and everything is not there. Right now government has opened the various portal, okay, in which the farmer can come and sell their crops, and they will get the direct payment, they will get the check payment. So the quality of the grain will be checked, and automatically the payment will be there on their bank account. So slowly government is moving towards the direct benefit transfer model, and government is utilizing technology in every aspects. Climate change is the recent phenomena which is again affecting the whole lot of, because climate change will directly affect the various type of cropping patterns, whether it is temperature increase, whether it is rainfall, whether it is extreme weather events, whatever it is all affecting the agriculture, because agriculture is the, these are having a direct consequences on agriculture, okay. So that is why we need some adaptation techniques, climate resilient farming we have to do. Climate resilient farming we have to do in the coming future, and we have to start with that. Now, how we can solve the problem of cropping pattern in India? Whatever the issue that we have discussed, how we can solve it? First of all, obviously, promotion of the crop diversification. We have to keep on diversifying our crop. Water management practice has to be improved. Since I am just reading this just because we have already discussed these things in detail, okay, the problem, so obviously the solution lies in the problem only, right? So soil health can be improved by proper conservation of the tillage, organic farming we can do, right? Agriculture infrastructure, whether it is pre-harvest, post-harvest, transportation, storages, everywhere, and a special focus has to be done on the rural infrastructure. Help in farmer education, so that farmer can utilize mobile phones, farmer can check the climate datas, okay, farmer can check their soil health, everything on the mobile phone. They can just do a call and they can take the guidance from the expert people, right? Climate resilient agriculture, that means which is, so we have to invest in a lot of research, we have to invest in a lot of innovations area. That is why we will be able to exactly find out, like, this is the agriculture of 21st century. Now what is the agriculture of 21st century? You cannot follow the rules of 20th century in the 21st century, no. 21st century has to be totally different, and here we have to look forward the climate issue, and based on the climate issue, that is why we have to make a climate resilient agriculture. Fragmentation of the land has to be tackled properly. We have to consolidate the land, proper land leasing has to be given, farm size has to be increased by various laws. Farmer should get easy access to the farmer, that is why government has started Kisan Credit Card. Government is also PM Kisan. Under that, Kisan is getting rupees 6,000 per year. Every Kisan is getting 6,000 per year, so that they can buy, and even they are getting credit at subsidy, right? So they are getting like so that they can able to buy quality seeds, they can get the quality fertilizer and pesticide. Promote market, farmer produce organization, agriculture marketing, import export, all has to be enhanced, all has to be integrated together. And then government has to make laws and rules which adhere to the 21st century's way of working in the agriculture. Now what is the government effort that government is doing? So here I have written all the schemes. I hope so this scheme part will be covered by a separate, in a separate lecture. I have written just to make sure that if you get a question on that, and if they ask you what the government is doing in that, so you can say that we are running a national mission for sustainable agriculture. We are also running Krishi Sachai Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Vikas Yojana, Soil Health Card, National Horticulture Mission, especially focusing on the marketing linkages, then Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, National Agriculture Market, where you can sell your crop online, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, agriculture, technology, innovation, capacity building. Then mission of integrated development of horticulture and climate change and adaptation and mitigation initiatives are these. Okay, so this is what the scheme that you can say what government is doing in order to enhance the agriculture. So in these all scheme, you can see that it is related to health to the soil, it is related to water development, it is related to horticulture, it is related to sustainable agriculture, sichai, that is irrigation, then fasal bima, insurance, selling of the agriculture output, that is using enam, then Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, and all the things have been integrated. So whenever the question comes, you can just simply put all these points, because sometimes whenever the question comes, you remain blank out. The people goes blank out कि अब ये लिखना क्या है मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है whatever it is. So all of a sudden when you see this, you will just directly get that okay, after this I have to write this point and this point and this point, and then we have to end the question, right? So you remember all these things. Okay, in the scheme part we will be discussing in detail all these things. Here we are not talking, because here we are talking about the cropping pattern. We are not, this is not a lecture on a scheme, but since it is a continuation of the topic that I have to give, that is why I have written that. Now, what are the factors that affect the cropping pattern? Very detailed I have prepared this. First is agroclimatic condition. That means what is the temperature of a certain, like if we go I am very bad of drawing, so if we go by this is as India. Okay, so please just bear with me with this India. Okay, northeast is there only. Okay, so if we go by the situation, like if we go here and we see this part, northwestern part, okay, this is a one part, we will find out what is the temperature over here, what type of rainfall happens over here, and at what altitude it is. Okay, then only we decide like what type of crop can be grown over here. Like if we go for a rice cultivation, so rice is where always rice has to be cultivated where high rainfalls are there and where warm temperature are there. It cannot be cultivated at a place where we have a cold temperature and we don't have rice, because rice is a water intensive crop. Then altitude, height also matter, like at what height what type of crop grows. Okay, that also influences a choice. Okay, higher altitude, if we go for higher altitude, there apples, like in a higher altitude they're suitable for cultivation of apples and potatoes, and similarly other things are there. If we go to the tropical area and if we go to the hilly areas, coffee and tea are there, right? That depends on altitude, right? If we go on the hilly areas, hilly slant areas, we call it as it is good for tea, coffee, right? So it all depends agroclimatic condition. These are the words, which student forget. If you write this word like agroclimatic, soil fertility type and various other things, automatically it give an impression, okay, you know much more than that. Okay, now the second one is soil fertility. Soil fertility, soil type, what type of soil, whether it is black soil, what is a red soil, what is alluvial soil. It depends on the nutrition, what type of nutritions are there. Again, it affects the cropping pattern. Then we go for the market demand. What is the demand of that product? Whether rice is in demand, whether wheat is in demand, whether vegetables are in demand, whether any export oriented things are in demand. So, consumer preference and export demand are two important things which has to be tackled in order to find out what type of cropping pattern we have to see and which place what type of cropping pattern is needed. Okay, like export oriented crop like coffee, tea, spices are there, right? And market demands are of various other things like fruits is there, vegetables is there, oil seed is there, right? Then other factors that affect cropping pattern is government policies. Obviously government are favoring certain thing and government is not favoring certain thing. Like government says that we will be buying these crop on MSP, minimum support price. For that lot of fight is going on. If we say government said that okay, for these 23 crops I will give MSP, so people will be only growing these 323 crops because government is giving guarantee. Rest other crops will be neglected. Yes, other crops will be neglected, right? So like in MSP, rice and wheat are getting good amount of MSP. So that is why we have a monoculture. That is why we have a monoculture cropping, because a lot of people, most of the people are growing wheat and rice because they have a very good price support mechanism. But government need to diversify that. That is why government is planning that we should diversify the field and provide MSP to other sectors also, right? Then subsidies and incentives also decide like what is going to the cropping pattern. Okay, farmer decision is influenced by this subsidy and incentive, like in which crop I get good subsidy, in which crop I don't get good subsidy, in which crop I got more incentive, in which crop I am not getting incentive. So based on that, it encourages farmer to cultivate certain type of crop and ignoring certain kind of crops. Okay, then we are coming into the technological advancement. Okay, under that we have mechanization and genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, lot of genetically modified crop, GM cotton, GM mustard are there, correct? So some of the factors that affects the crop pattern is the technological advancement. Like if some farmer is highly technologically advanced, he can utilize that. That means if you are having a good machinery for rice transplantation, and if you have a harvester for the wheat, so it is said that you will be only cultivating rice and wheat because you have all the type of mechanization for that. You have all the good machinery to utilize in that field, and rest other crops will be get neglected. Then genetically engineering, like we are creating a lot of genetic cotton to prevent it from the bacterial infection. Okay, Bacillus thuringiensis. Then genetically modified mustard, it is still in the uh, like testing has already been done and it has to be approved by the government. I think it has been approved also, but I just don't know what is the recent criteria. After that, I will be updating you in the current affairs. Okay. So genetic engineering also plays a very important role, and they are help in making drought tolerance. Okay, there are crop which are highly drought tolerant just because we have converted them. We have converted their genes into certain. Okay, then socio-economic factors also influence the cropping pattern, like what is the land tenure, whether we have labor availability or not, whether we have infrastructure. All these things affects the cropping pattern. Okay, so like if there is a small farmer, the small farmer will only looking for a crop which he can harvest in a very short cycle, and which is having a higher market value so that he can get quick income, right? What about the labor ability? Like in the sugar cane, we require a lot of labor. In cotton, we require a lot of labor. So labor ability also affects the cropping pattern. So wherever the labors are high, we can grow labor intensive crop. Where the labors are less, we can grow less labor intensive crop. Then infrastructure, what type of infrastructure, whether you have proper irrigation system or not, transportation, storage facility, that also affects the cropping pattern, right? Then environmental considerations is also there, like you have to check whether soil erosion will be there or not, water scarcity is there, biodiversity loss will happen or not. So all these consideration also happen because government may not allow you certain things. Okay, that also affects the cropping pattern. Cultural and traditional practices, so there are a lot of heritage practices are there, so they prefer certain type of crop because of some historical significance. Even they are not having any quite profit in that, but still they are doing it because they have some historical significance attached to it, right? Like there is a quinoa cultivation in Indian region, that is a indigenous tradition. So there are certain cultural and tradition practice heritage uh, reasons also. Then globalization and trade, you have done good trade with the USA, and USA is demanding wheat. So you will do the cultivation of wheat more. So based on the globalization, like how globalized and how interlinked your market is, that also decides your cropping pattern. You might be saying that, okay, I am getting good price in wheat and rice and sugar, so let's grow only these three crops, right? So if you go by this example, there is a North American free trade agreement led to the change in the cropping pattern in Mexico. Because earlier Mexico was growing something else, but when this North American free trade agreement was signed between Mexico and America, so America said that you try to grow this type of crop and we will buy this crop. So this is one of the example of that. And climate is happening, climate change is happening everywhere. There is a shifting of the climate pattern, wind belts are shifting, then we have a lot of temperature ups and downs, erratic rainfall is happening. So again, this is one of the things. So these are the factors, total 10 factors are there which affect the cropping pattern. So you have 10 points in your hands. You can easily write 200 to 250 word answer in that. You have to by heart these all things. I have created these slides. I'm creating these videos. I am giving you full knowledge in this. You don't have to find out any other source material above this. If you have done this properly, you are good. Now we will be discussing the types of cropping system. So till now we were discussing about the monocropping, monoculture and all these things, right? So now we will be discussing what is the meaning of monocropping, multiple cropping, intercropping and various other things that we are going to discuss now. Whenever we say that we are discussing regarding monocropping. Monocropping means one crop on a piece of land year after year. That means if this is a rice, next year is also rice. Again, next year you have a rice. This is called as monocropping. Right now, like if we go by the example like groundnut has also been done in a monocropping pattern. Cotton is done in a monocropping pattern which grows on a black soil, right? Or sorghum. These are all being done in a monocropping pattern. So if we go by this monocropping concept, we say that only a single type of drone is there, right? So why, what is the reason why people go for monocropping? So it can be a climatic reason, it can be a climatic reason, or it can be a socio-economic reason. Socio-economic reason. Why? Because if we go by the groundnut, if we go by this groundnut or cotton, okay, so farmer keeps on growing this year after year after year after year. Okay, why? The main reason is that because they have a very limitation of rainfall, right? So they cannot grow anything. That is why they keeps on growing the same thing. They keeps on growing the same thing. But wherever we have a canal irrigation, where we have a waterlogged condition, okay, where we have a canal, where we are water logged condition, right? Or we have a irrigated areas. So there farmer go for rice cultivation because at these areas nothing else can grow. Nothing, they cannot grow anything just then rice because waterlogged is there. So they have to forcefully grow rice because rice grows very good in a waterlogged area. So monocropping is something which farmer has to decide based on their climatic condition or based on their socio-economic condition, right? Now we are moving towards the multiple cropping. Multiple cropping means when you are growing two or more crops in a same field within a given year. Like you have crop for first 6 months, you have done something. For the next 6 months, you have done something, right? So when two or more crops are grown in a same field in a given year, right? So it shows the intensification of how much same field you are utilizing for how many crops. Okay, so if we go by the concept of this intensification, then comes two most important concepts. We get cropping intensity. Okay, so cropping intensity has a formula, that is gross cropped area divided by net sown area, right, and multiplied by 100. That is the formula of cropping intensity. Okay, so now what is the meaning of this cropping intensity? So whenever we say cropping intensity, what is this gross cropped area? Gross cropped area. So gross cropped area is a total area as well as more than when it is a total area sown once as well as more than once in a particular year. That means when a crop is sown, when a crop is sown on a piece of land for twice, then it is been counted as twice. That means if we have a ground, we have done rice, after sometimes we have done wheat. So the same land is being cultivated two times. So it is counted at twice. Gross cropped area will be counted as twice. Like if we have a 100 acre, then in 100 acre we have put rice for 6 months, and again in this same 100 acre, after rice has been taken out, we have done wheat for 6 months. So the gross cropped area becomes 200 acre. 200 acre. Okay. So you got the gross cropped area. Now what is the meaning of 1 minute? Let me write one more. Cropping intensity. Cropping intensity is equal to gross crop area divided by net sown area. Okay, gross cropped area we have already studied. What is the meaning of net sown area? Okay, it is the area sown, but only once it is counted. Only once it is counted. Only once. Okay, gross cropped area means how many times the same field is cultivated, that many times we will call it as gross cropped area. And net sown area means only one time that area will be counted. Okay, now under the multiple cropping, we find out what is the cropping index, because whenever we are talking about the multiple cropping, obviously we are growing a lot of crops over there, one after the other, one after maybe two times, maybe three times, right? So this concept of cropping intensity comes over. Okay, so multiple cropping means growing two or more crops within a same year. It is the intensification that we calculate using this formula, right? So under multiple cropping we have mixed cropping. Under multiple cropping, we have intercropping. Under multiple cropping, we have sequence cropping, like that. Okay. Now we are going to discuss one by one. What is the mixed cropping? When two or more crops are grown in a same field in a given year without a definite row pattern. There is no row pattern. Without a definite row pattern. So normally what this type of practice is usually done in a very dry areas, dry tract of land. Okay, so there are various type of seeds are there. So various crop seeds are there. They will be sown here and there. Okay, and the crops get cultivated through three types of crops comes out. Okay, so, mixed cropping, also known as intercropping, in an agriculture practice where two or more crops are grown simultaneously. Simultaneously, we are growing in a same field. So, it is just opposite to monoculture. Mixed cropping is just opposite to monoculture. And this is the most important thing regarding mixed cropping. Here we are using without any definite row pattern. That means it is not like that one row you do this, one row you do this. No, you do here also, you do this part, you grow like this, in between this, like this. Okay, anywhere, whatever the pattern it is, you grow that. Then intercropping. What is the meaning of intercropping? Intercropping means when two or more crops are grown simultaneously during the same time, but they have a row pattern. They have a row pattern. Intercropping means again two or three crops, two or more than two crops, but in a definite pattern. In a definite pattern. So here I have given you some example, like we have maize and green gram are there. They are grown like one after the other. One maize, one green, one maize, one green. Then maize and black gram. one maize row, one black gram row, one maize row, one black gram row. Then we have a groundnut and red gram. Six groundnut, then one red gram. Six groundnut and then one. So there is a definite pattern. Okay. So there is a definite pattern is there, right? To draw. So, but there are a lot of variation are there in that intercropping. That LA cropping is there. Then strip cropping is there, where two or more crops are planted in the same field in a alternative strips are there. Okay, so this is a strip cropping. So groundnut and red gram 6:4 strips used to put it. Okay, so intercropping, whenever we say it is a type of a pattern where we have a crop planted in a definite रो अरेंजमेंट. यहाँ पे डेफिनेट रो अरेंजमेंट होता है, मिक्स में नहीं होता है. इन द मिक्स देयर इज नो डेफिनेट without any row arrangement, but in the intercropping we have a definite row. You have to properly plant it, right? So if we go by the differences, so I have taken out these differences, and if you by heart these differences, then it is very very good, because I have given these differences based on aspects. Definition: what is a crop arrangement, what is a crop interaction, what is the purpose, what is the competition, what is the management, what soil fertility, pest control, examples, flexibility, harvesting, and yield potential. Okay, so these are all the important differences between mixed cropping and intercropping. Okay, so here if you see mixed cropping, randomly mixed in a distinctive row in intercropping. Purpose: for efficiency, okay, and reduce the risk associated. Against here, resource efficiently and maximize the land use properly. More competition among the crop, less competition among the crops. Management can be more challenging due to different crop requirement, because there are a lot of different crops. But here management is here because we know clear separation. In the intercropping, we know clear separation is there. But in the mixed cropping, we don't know clear separation from which part, what type of crop can come out, right? Then we have pest control. In mixed cropping, we may reduce pest and diseases incidence due to diversity. Here also may reduce the pest and diseases incidence through companion plantation. Here they have given example of maize and cowpea. Okay. Here they have given a maize and beans planted in alternate rows. Flexibility is mixed cropping is less flexible in terms of crop choices, because normally all the croppings do not occur in the mixed cropping pattern. But in intercropping, you have a lot of flexibilities there. You can do various combination and you can attach 2 3 combination all together. Harvesting: in mixed cropping, harvesting is challenging because there is no fixed pattern. Things are growing in a random way. But in the intercropping, harvesting is easy. Harvesting is easy because they are put on a proper separate row. Separate row. So harvesting is very easy, and using a harvester you can do that. Yield potential can vary. It can be good in mixed cropping, but in intercropping the yield potential is optimized and it can be high, because here intercropping we are properly following all the procedure. So intercropping, if we say, we can call them at a organized way of mixed cropping, that we call it as. So more and more intercropping people try, and mixed cropping is a places where you have a less land and you just wanted to grow something, but where you have a very big land and you know what type of crops can be grown, so you can easily go for intercropping over there. Then we have a third one, that is called sequence cropping. Sequence cropping is also called as crop rotation, because this is a big word. Sequence cropping or sequential cropping or crop rotation, that is one after the other, one after the other, like that. So there are ways, like how many type of sequence croppings are there. Okay, in the mixed farming we have the sequence cropping, we have intercropping and mixed farming, right? So sequence cropping have various types, like you can do double cropping, like when two crops you can grow on a same land, like rice. After rice you can put cotton. Okay, then again rice, then again cotton, like that. Triple cropping. Triple cropping means growing three crops on a same piece of land: rice, then you again or rice, then again pulses. Okay, that you can do. Normally this happens in the South India because South India have a very favorable climate throughout the year. So you can grow a three cropping pattern over there. Then quadruple cropping, four crops in the same land in a sequence. Like you can grow various type of vegetables, fruits like tomato, then ridge gourd, amaranthus, greens, and baby corn. So normally vegetables are being grown in a quadruple cropping pattern because you cannot do this with food crop because food crop can only grow on a certain season, whether it's a rabi season or a kharif season. Quadruple cropping, that is also a type of a crop rotation, you only do it for the vegetables. Okay, you can see that a lot of farmers are there who keep on changing their cropping pattern on the vegetable. If you ask a vegetable farmer, he said, yes, I am growing this now. After 2 months, I will grow this. After again 3 months, I will grow that. So this is called quadruple cropping in that. Now, there are other type of multiple cropping. One is called LA cropping, then relay cropping, and raton cropping under that. Okay. So under the LA cropping, we plant trees at wider spacing with a companion crop grown in LA way between the rows. Okay, between the LAs and the rows. Okay, so we are planting a trees, so growing maize between row of a fruit tree. Okay, like if we have this a fruit tree are there, this is a fruit trees. Okay, we call that as fruit tree. Okay, this side also we have a fruit tree. Okay, and then growing maize between this. Okay, that is called LA crop. Then relay cropping, growing two or more crops simultaneously during the part of a life cycle of each. The second crop is planted after the first crop has reached its reproductive stage. That means you are planting one crop once the other crop is in the harvesting stage. Sorry, once the crop has been reached to its reproductive stage, we have planted the second crop. Okay, that is called relay. If you can see over here, relay crop has been planted in this way. Okay, once you plant one crop, okay, like if we plant this green crop, then once this green crop has reached the reproductive stage, then we plant that yellow crop. Okay, then we plant that yellow crop. Okay, so growing two or more crops simultaneously, the second crop is planted after the first crop has reached its reproductive stage. Okay, then rattan cropping. So what is there in the rattening of the cropping? Which here what we do is we plant, like here we are planting, like we are planting this sugar cane. Okay, the sugar cane plantation happens like this. Okay, so this is sugar cane plantation. Once sugar cane has reached and fully matured, so we will come and cut 3/4 of that sugar cane top part, and a bottom part will remain uncut. It will remain as a stubble. Okay, so that stubble can regrow again. Okay, so rattoning means growing same crops from the leftover of the previous crop. That is called rattan cropping. Okay, so if you go by this row cropping like this, we have a row of trees, and then between that we are like we have a row, we have this crop is there in green, and in between we have certain other things that we planted in a random way. Then we have mixed type of cropping, so we are mixing anywhere wherever we want, we are doing that. Strip cropping, certain rows are there, and relay we have already discussed. Okay, so now what is the advantage of this multi-cropping? We have already discussed many times, so again we will be continuing with that. Obviously it lead to the better usage of the resources, proper better uses of land, proper better use of nutrition and water. That is the main aim of multiple cropping. Obviously it provide us with optimization of resource usage. Since we are using multiple cropping, we are enhancing the biodiversity of that area. We are enhancing the growth microbes. We are enhancing the water conservation techniques. Biodiversity of that area is intact. Because if we are singly growing something, the biodiversity gets hurt. If you see jungle, you go to jungle, you will see a lot of trees, big trees, small trees, ferns, reapers, everything is there. That is why jungle is a highly biodiverse area. Similarly, if we go multiple cropping, if we are going food crops, we are going vegetables, if you are growing pulses, so it enhances the biodiversity of that area. It also limits the outbreak of the pest, because multiple croppings are there. If pest attack happen, or if you are doing single type of crop, you will give a favorable climate to the crop pest to grow. But if you are doing multiple cropping, you are not providing them with favorable climate, and all you are also breaking away their cycle, breaking away their cycle, right? Then multiple cropping also lead to suppression of the weeds. Weeds do not grow easily where we are doing multiple cropping. Weeds only grow where we are doing monoculture farming, where only single type of crop is going and weed knows, yeah, I can attach to that crop. But if you are doing multiple cropping, we don't know why what crop I have to attach, and weed is not able to grow. Okay, because of that, stability of your farm will remain. It will give higher equivalent yield. Okay, higher equivalent. Why they have given the word equivalent? Because since you are growing rice and again you are growing something else, so equivalently, if you calculate, you will get more yielder than your monoculture farm. It reduces the pest and disease incidences. It also increase the barrier against the biological and dispersal of the pest. Okay, it provides barrier against any biological pest that is attacking. Sorry, this point is included. Okay, so this is all are the advantages of multiple cropping. So in India, we should move from the monoculture to the multiple cropping in some way or the other way possible. So thank you so much, guys. I will be coming you with the next part of this video in the next session. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.